This is my absolute favorite way to cook beets. This recipe is super simple and easy and super delicious too. So here are the beets I'm going to be using today. These are beets that I picked out of my backyard garden earlier today, and I just cut the stems off when I picked them. But if you buy them at the grocery store or the farmer's market, they're likely going to have some stems on there. They might be 6 inches long, they might be the full length stem with the leaves and everything. And the stems and the leaves are edible. You can eat those. I usually don't, but they leave those on there just to helps keep the beets from drying out, and it makes them look kind of nice too. But if you don't want to eat the stems of the leaves, just go ahead and cut them off so you have something like what I have right here. As you can see, I accidentally broke this one when I was picking it this morning. Whoops. So beets can come in a variety of sizes. As you can see, I've got a smaller one and a larger one here, and in my experience they all taste the same. I generally like the larger beets because it's just less work preparing them. You've got 6 large beets to prepare versus 20 small beets. It's obviously easier to prepare the larger beets. So the first thing I'm going to do is cut off the ends. First the stem end and then the root end. As far as skinning the beets go, generally I like to leave as much skin on there as possible. It's got a lot of good fiber and other good things in it, and I'd like to leave it there, but that upper part of the skin there that's closest to the stems, that can get a little scaly and kind of icky looking, and generally I'll go ahead and peel off that upper portion of the skin. And if there are any spots that have kind of little hair roots that are protruding out there, those spots can kind of hold dirt sometimes, so I just run those over with the vegetable peeler too and just get rid of those. But I like to leave on as much skin as possible. It's just less work, and it's more nutrition. I have noticed that the grocery store beets, they're going to be quite a bit older than the beets you're seeing here. Like I said, these were picked today. Those have probably been sitting in a crate or on a shelf for maybe a week or two, and it's possible that the skin has gotten dried out or toughened up, and you might just, for grocery store beets, you might just want to peel them entirely. But as you can see on the smaller beets, they have a lot less of that scaly, tough skin up near the top there. And so I leave most of the skin on those smaller beets. So now that the beets are skinned to your satisfaction, it's time to cut them up. Generally, I like to cut them up into about 1-inch size chunks. That size is a nice bite size on the fork, and it also is a good size to cook. If you cut them much larger than that, they're going to take a lot longer to cook, and so I like the 1-inch size. Works pretty good, and I don't really try to get them exactly the same size or anything. It doesn't really matter very much. This is a very rustic cutting that I'm doing here. Some are smaller than others. And next I'm going to add some oil. This is canola oil. I like canola just because it's kind of flavorless. It's just it does its job, but it doesn't add flavor. And the seasoning here is super simple. It's just going to be salt, pepper, and onion powder. I never measure these things. I just do a liberal sprinkling of all 3 of those seasonings on the beets and give them a toss. Once those beets are nice and coated in that oil and salt and pepper and onion powder, it's time to get the pan ready. I like to use a shallow aluminum sheet pan for this, and I'm going to line it with parchment paper. Parchment paper is key. These beets do have a lot of sugar in them, and when they start cooking, that's going to leach out onto the surface of the pan. If you have foil, it's probably going to stick. It's not going to burn, but it's definitely going to stick. And parchment paper just works really nice. It keeps everything from sticking and allows you to remove them from the pan when they're done with no problems at all. So onto the parchment paper pan they go, and into the 425-degree oven for 20 minutes. After 20 minutes, I'm going to pull them out of the oven and give them a stir. I'm not being too meticulous here, just kind of a rough stir. Don't really need to make sure every single piece is turned over, everything. Back in the oven they go for another 20 minutes. So after 40 minutes in the oven, you can see these beets are much darker in color. A lot of those sugars in the beets have kind of caramelized a little bit. Using a fork, they're easily pierced with a fork. I can cut them with the edge of the fork. They're pretty much done. I kind of like them a little bit on the softer side, so I'm actually going to put them back in for another 10 minutes. Overall cooking time can vary between 45 minutes and an hour. It really depends on a lot of things, the moisture content of your beets, whether or not you're putting cold beets or room temperature beets in the oven when you start with. It can vary, between 45 minutes and an hour. 10 minutes later, these are done and they're cooked to perfection. They have a rich, dark color, and they also have a very rich, sweet flavor for a vegetable. Roasting beets in a dry heat like this, I think, gives the beets an excellent flavor, and that super simple, just salt and pepper and onion powder seasoning just keeps it simple, and you just really brings out the sweetness that are naturally in the beet. And some grilled chicken and a side salad is what we're having with these beets tonight. Grilled meat is always a winner with beets, in my opinion. But if you've never tried beets like this, I highly recommend you give it a try.